Ray Epps surfaces again, this time on his own Twitter file, thanks to Dom Lucre, breaker of narratives. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. That's right. Dom Lucre, a totally independent Twitter journalist, gives Ray Epps the Twitter files treatment, and in the process confirms everything I suspected about him and brings more supporting evidence. The only question I have about his narrative is this: who is using whom? Now, Lucre seems to think the Democratic Party is using the FBI, but could the deep state be using the Democratic Party, having suborned it long ago? I consider that far more likely, and once again, I must know Trump's greatest failing: lack of imagination. And I'm going to lay it out for you, starting with everything I already have on Ray Epps from A to Z. But first, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. And be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which depicts and quotes Klaus Schwab saying, "We have ways." We have ways. One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click on that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. Now, first, some absolutely, settle in folks, but this will be a long one. I will begin by reviewing everything I published about Ray Epps last year when the House Committee to investigate the January 6 attacks, which I'll just call the J6 Committee from now on, first convened. I'm not going to give you links to the articles in the description. Instead, I'm going to link all of the image and video resources I have so that you don't have to go looking for them and by pouring through 3 different articles. Ray Epps first came to my attention shortly before then. In an article in Conservative News and Views, I asked then, what was he doing in Washington, D.C. the night before and on that day? Answer: he was telling crowds of people that on the day President Trump was to speak, and I quote, "We have to go into the Capitol! Into the Capitol!" Unquote Ray Epps, who was haranguing the crowd exactly as I just demonstrated. And the crowd started repeating a chant of "Fed, Fed, 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 Fed." And after the event, I noted when the FBI put him on a wanted poster collage and then took him off 6 months later. I have links in the description of those 2 images from the site revolver.news. The Wayback Machine is your friend for detecting and tracking alterations of a web page, as they did in this case, and I have a link in the description to that too. Next, I have links to 2 tweets by Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky and another user named Elijah Schaffer. Massie relates that he questioned Attorney General Merrick Garland on whether any federal agents were operating on January 6th, and Garland refused to answer. Mr. Schaffer has video footage of several persons ripping down a barrier at the Capitol, a barrier very few people ever saw. Then I have links to 4 more videos, all on Rumble. Most of these are compilations of other video footage of Ray Epps. You see him haranguing people to prepare to go into the Capitol. You see him holding court or some such thing in front of a police line. And then, the kicker, you see him giving clear instructions to a bunch of people. Representative Marjorie Greene of Florida got her Twitter accounts back soon after Elon Musk took over that platform. So her tweets survived. And I have 4 of them. Her point is that Ray Epps was deliberately organizing people to go into the Capitol. Yet, when she visited the D.C. jail to check in on J6 detainees, Ray Epps was not among them. Why wasn't he? This was back in December of 2021, and no one had caught up with Ray Epps yet. And she wanted to know why. Well, the government did find Ray Epps. Then the Democrats held their Day of Remembrance, and on that occasion, I published another article, including more videos. One of them, YouTube took off its platform. 3 more they left on, and another 3 I have from Rumble, and they never take anything down. 2 of the YouTube videos come from Dr. Stephen Turley, talking about how those on the left avow that the J6 event succeeded from their point of view in demonizing all their opponents. The 3rd YouTube video comes from The Hill and features Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz of Florida holding a joint press conference about all this. The Rumble videos introduce 2 new characters, Fence Cutter Bulwark and Scaffold Commander. Fence Cutter Bulwark led a team to take down fences and area closed signs. I have a link to a photograph of one such sign just before Fence Cutter Bulwark and his boys got to it. Plainly says, area closed. When the J6 committee met, they mentioned Ray Epps only to deny the extent of his involvement. That, as I said then, was an unforced error, in addition to being a travesty of congressional investigation. I have a few more resources. First, 6 tweets from various sources, including the J6 committee itself. 1 tweet has disappeared, but I have a Wayback Machine link available. So, what do we have? First, the Columbia Bugle has video of Senator Ted Cruz of Texas questioning the FBI's representative on how many federal agents they had in place and who is Ray Epps. Another user has a mini thread containing a partial transcript of Cruz's questioning of an FBI man named Sanborn, who said not to his knowledge did any federal agents encourage violent and or criminal conduct on that day. Next is the one from the committee itself. For what it's worth, they say they interviewed Ray Epps and just took his word that he was not an FBI asset and never had been. Next, Rasmussen reports pours contempt on that notion and takes note of Epps disappearing from the special FBI wanted page. We now turn to the Wayback Machine link to a tweet by Sean Davis saying, and I quote, "Nobody believes this. After all, this is the exact same committee that doctored text messages of lawmakers and is run by people like Representative Adam Schiff of California, who doctored evidence repeatedly throughout the bogus Russian collusion hoax and the Ukraine impeachment," unquote, Sean Davis. Then comes this from another user, quote, "Tucker made a great point that I overlooked. Mark Meadows' text leaked immediately. Ray Epps was allegedly interviewed months ago, and that was kept top secret. Makes you wonder," close quote. Then another user seems to ask Representative Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, what was Ray Epps' exact statement to the committee, and was Epps under oath? Which brings us to a thread by Adam Kinzinger. He left it there. I left there 8 links, tweets in all. I have links in the description to the even numbers. He admitted that Epps was on video haranguing people the night before to prepare to go into the Capitol. He admitted further that the FBI put him on the wanted poster and then took him off. But he said that wasn't sufficient reason to suspect him of being an FBI asset. And then Kinzinger says that Ray Epps did not go into the Capitol and broke no laws. Well, hold that thought, sports fans, because when I get to Dom DeLucre's thread, you'll see how he accuses Ray Epps directly of going in and leading others in. And as to not breaking any laws, well, that might apply to many others who have languished in prison for 2 years now. Kinzinger's colleagues, Tom Massie and Jim Banks of Indiana, were all over that. Massie says that now the J6 committee, on which Kinzinger served along with Liz Cheney, the rhino from Ohio, and I quote, thinks it's fine to encourage, organize, and direct people to go into the Capitol. What else can one infer from those remarks, huh? And Jim Banks points out the irony of Adam Kinzinger defending the one man whom people knew already was inciting. He and no one else. Trip Gabriel of the New York Times embarrassed himself and the Democrats further. He suggested we take Ray Epps at his word, and then cited the New York Times and Snopes to support him. Other users pointed out the monumental inconsistency. And why interview Ray Epps at all if he was not charged and was not working as a government agent? Another pointed out that the legacy media accounts about him mentioned law enforcement employment only. Not a word about whether Ray Epps might have worked for the CIA, for example. Dr. Steve Turley said it best. Ray Epps was a loose end and the Democrats wanted people to forget him. I have a link to his video saying that the J6 committee was in a panic over having to mention Ray Epps at all. With all that as background, it's time to read Dom Lucre's thread. But first, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides, either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, I've left links to the even numbers of the Dom Lucre thread, which has 26 tweets in all, with plenty of video and photo and gallery embeds and document links. But be careful. Dom Lucre is developing a reputation for thread titles that say the exact opposite of what the threads reveal. He uses irony to get attention, and it seems to be highly effective, so don't let the beginning of this thread fool you. And now the thread. Quote, proof that Ray Epps was a die-hard Trump supporter. Not really. Ray Epps' activities go beyond what an FBI agent or asset would be permitted to accomplish. Ray Epps was added to the FBI's wanted list on January 8th and removed from it on June 30th, 2021, after he was formally recognized by the New York Times. The mainstream media defense of Ray Epps is strange. This piece, Ray Epps has suffered greatly in the previous 10 months as right-wing media personalities and Republican lawmakers have baselessly labeled him, New York Times, July 30th, 2022, is particularly suspect. The FBI infiltrates numerous organizations and sometimes provokes its members. Sting operations are what they're called. The phony conspiracy to abduct Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is an extreme example of this. We do know at least 20 federal agents were there. Ray Epps was publicly inciting violence. The FBI's interrogation would likely be done without drawing attention on themselves. In the particular case of Whitey Bulger, an FBI informant, he was put on their wanted list only after he was no longer an FBI informant and had vanished. So, why would the FBI remove Ray Epps from their wanted list and remove him from all investigations without arresting or detaining him? Ray Epps would have to be protected by someone larger. If not the FBI itself, probably the Democratic-controlled DOJ. The New York Times published a lengthy defense of Ray Epps, something they would never do for a Trump supporter or an FBI agent involved in the J6 assault. He has not been charged with anything, not even trespassing, despite the fact that he clearly did trespass. The mainstream media's assumption that Ray Epps is simply another Trump supporter acting on his own will is difficult to accept. There is no proof that he was even a Republican, let alone a genuine Trump supporter. Among the hundreds of demonstrators on J6 and the thousands of hours of publicly accessible film from that day, Epps may be the only individual nailed dead to rights for admitting on camera to orchestrating a pre-planned assault on the Capitol. Agents from the FBI field office in Phoenix, where Epps resides, have gone so far as to deny that Ray Epps exists. Instead of going after Epps, FBI agents have gone after journalists who dared question Epps in person whether he was a government spy. Despite the FBI's efforts to remove Epps' face from its wanted database, as well as public denials of his existence by authorized agents, the FBI D.C. field office still lists Ray Epps as a wanted man in this twin tweet. And here the Lucre is quoting the tweet involved. It all started when Ray Epps and his tiny breach squad pulled down the first set of barriers between 12:50 and 12:53 p.m. The same breach squad went on to demolish restricted area signs and remove protective fencing from the Capitol grounds in a methodical manner. The breaching site was strategically important since it was the first pathway entry onto the Capitol grounds that every Trumper would come to at first, as they proceeded from the Trump event to the Capitol. The Epps breach team opened the one pathway entry that no one could avoid. People leaving Trump's speech who arrived at the Capitol door had no idea it was unlawful to go through the gate, onto the grass, or up to the Capitol steps, if no police were there and no do not enter signs were displayed. After all, it is normally open to the public. As a result, the Epps breach team put up what might be the greatest legal trap in American history. The Justice Department said that anyone who walked on the red line on J6, and here he embeds a map that has that red line on it, has committed a federal felony and may be held without bond until a criminal trial 12 or more months away. One of his breachers can be seen tearing down and then rolling up the limited area fence that surrounds the Capitol grounds, dressed casually and wearing dark shades on a foggy day. Not upset. He appeared detached, cool, and professional, as if he were just there to do his job. At 12:31 p.m., Fence Cutter Bulwark was waiting just next to the Ray Epps breach site. That was 20 minutes before the breach began. He was doing nothing except peering out beyond the barrier he would later remove. But it's not just Ray Epps and Fence Cutter Bulwark. In order to appreciate that, you have to click through to see the pictures. Where are the press podiums with details of such a capture? Said capture being the eventual capture of Ray Epps a year later. All responding officers would be promoted and awarded medals. We're talking about breaking a story of tactical Trump supporters in broad daylight right in front of the Justice Department. Why the radio silence? It is plausible that Ray Epps worked with the FBI, but the mainstream media's unusual support of him, along with the January 6th committee's removal of him without charge, adds more proof that Ray Epps is being shielded by the Democrats. End of thread. Now, let me share this with you. A year ago, I had an Instagram post with embedded video of the Ray Epps capture. But when I went to review my articles yesterday, it wouldn't embed because Instagram took it down. I have chosen to drop 5 links in the description of tweets in reaction to this thread. This reaction begins with one user who understands perfectly Dom Lucre's use of irony. Clickbait for red pills, he said of Dom Lucre's choice of thread titles. One user expressed skepticism. Quote, overall you made this thread well. My top problems are: 1. He's oath keeper for the FBI video, so likely a Trumper and a Republican despite your claim there's no evidence. 2. No one but Caldwell, whoever he was, stood trial that didn't enter the Capitol on video. And 3. His words weren't a crime. Close quote. Let's take his points one at a time. First, let's remember what Dom Lucre said in the thread. The FBI often infiltrates the organizations it targets. COINTELPRO in the 60s and 70s was a prize example. This is another. In fact, the next reaction tweet makes that very point. Quote, Ray Epps is what is called an agent provocateur. He was there to provoke the events that unfolded. For a detailed history of how the FBI used such assets in the states in 60s and 70s, check out a book titled Agents of Repression, the FBI's Secret War Against the Black Panther Party. Close quote. Now, I have no brief from the Black Panther Party, the old or the new, but that user just made the very point I made. Second, why did anyone stand trial who entered a building normally open to the public after someone had taken down the signs and fences that would have told people to stay out? As Dom Lucre said, this is entrapment. And 3, what does that user mean? Ray Epps' words were not a crime. They absolutely were. It's called incitement to a felony. Another user denied flatly that Epps was a Fed, and still another user pointed out something that came up in committee. Quote, he texted his nephew, I was there, I orchestrated it. January 6th committee had that text conversation. They asked him, the BS'd about it, and Kinzinger let it slide. He's a Fed or a deep state plant, one or the other, close quote. Still another mentioned things that she questioned from the start, meaning, why was he haranguing those people the night before? And now, my analysis. This thread, with its many links and embeds, confirms everything I've said about Ray Epps. It also adds clear evidence that he did indeed enter the Capitol. And for the first time, we see the arbitrary boundary that the Justice Department set around the Capitol. This smacks of an ex post facto declaration, or at best, entrapment. Ray Epps and his team tore down police barriers, and the FBI failed to arrest or prosecute despite ample opportunity. Therefore, he was acting under their orders, and Dom Lucre nails him to the wall, dead to rights. But in so doing, he also nails the government to the wall, dead to rights. As he showed in an earlier thread, the one I did yesterday, the government took pains to provoke people to unlawful acts. Furthermore, members of the J6 committee inexcusably gave the FBI and Ray Epps a pass. Adam Kinzinger in his thread affirmed a lie that he must have known was a lie, or at least it was his job to know. Thus, we have further proof that the Democratic Party sought bills of attainder and an ex post facto law against Donald Trump and everyone who voted for him. Midterms, despite the blue seawalls, ensures that they won't get what they sought this time. But the Democratic Party isn't the final master. The deep state, that shadow world government that runs the United Nations and World Economic Forum, is, which makes them all foreign agents and therefore guilty of treason. Links to the description too, the article, to the Snapshots and Wayback Machine link from that FBI wanted page, to 2 tweets by Representative Massie and Elijah Schaffer, to the first 4 Rumble videos, to 4 tweets by Marjorie Taylor Greene, to 6 more videos, to the photo of the area closed sign and fence before a fence cutter bulwark and his crew took it down, to 7 more tweets, including one that is just as a Wayback Machine link, to Adam Kinzinger's thread, to reactions to that by Representative Massie and Banks, to Trip Gabriel's thread, to Dr. Steve Turley's video, Dom Lucre's thread. 5 tweets in reaction to that, to my Declaration of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to the J6 playlist and 2 videos by Dr. Steve on this affair. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another Declaration of Truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.